Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Media Files. So today, as you probably saw in the description below, we're going to talk about one of my absolute favorite films from childhood. I could go on for hours talking about this movie, but we'll see how far we can get. Let's just say if it wasn't for this particular movie, I probably would never have. I probably would have never gotten the film buff bug, I guess you would call it. Now, mind you, at the time when I saw this film, I was only 2 years old. Yeah. And I've loved the movie so much that I, of course, remember having a VHS copy of it, and I believe the top of the VHS part that covers the tape cover was green. And of course, I am talking about probably my all-time favorite film, one of many actually, but this is the one that really got me started on watching movies. Of course, is a Steven Spielberg classic and one of my absolute favorites. We have E.T. the Extraterrestrial. Yeah. So now I have let's see here, another edition of this. It's packed away somewhere, but I do have the 20th anniversary DVD edition, which I will go over that as well, but I figured we would take a look at this cool DVD and Blu-ray Steelbook edition that I have. Now, mainly, all of the content that was released for the 20th anniversary edition has been ported over to this. But mainly just because it's right here in front of me and it's just easy access. Because I think the original movie, is actually, it's downstairs in a container somewhere. But anyways, so yeah. Okay, so E.T. So story behind this, from what I can remember, at least from what my parents told me, was that for my second birthday, a family member, I think on my mom's side, saw this and thought, hey, he might like this. So I watch it. Of course, I'm 2. What do I know? I don't know anything. So, I watch it over and over and over again. And of course, I get in trouble, like all kids do, repeating certain lines in the movie that you have no idea what it means. The pee breath, for example. Yes. So, anyways, but so basically the gist of this film, if you've never seen it, is that you have a 9-year-old, about 8, between the ages of 8 and 10, I want to say probably more around 9 maybe, young boy, 10, 10-year-old Elliot, who is played by Henry Thomas, which was actually his very first film. Accidentally stumbles across a small little alien who has been left behind on Earth accidentally. And, what can we say? They form a friendship and a bond, that is like no other. And, so basically E.T. learns from this little boy about how things are at Earth. And, what can we say? It's one of the best, films that'll probably ever come out of Spielberg, probably right at his prime, really. But wonderfully written, of course, by Melissa Matheson, who was actually married at the time to Harrison Ford. And he actually makes a small cameo in the film, but you don't know it, which I will say that he is... there's a scene where basically Elliot lets out some frogs out of there, and there's a cuts to a scene where it shows a man holding Elliot's arm as they're walking out, and that's Harrison Ford. So he's basically the principal of the school. Cameo role, but you don't ever see his face. But anyways, so yeah, but also co-starring, we also have Drew Barrymore, very young Drew Barrymore, as of course his sister Gertie, and of course we have Michael McNaughton, Robert McNaughton, that's it, who of course plays his older brother Michael. And what can we say? just a great, great cast. And also, as the mom, uh, Dee Wallace, and the character also of Keys, who basically he's kind of like a undercover agent who's trying to find you know, alien life, detect alien life on Earth or whatever, and accidentally kind of comes across it. The reason why they call the character Keys is because he's really only identified by a small group of keys that rattles whenever he runs. So that's kind of how his character name is, but his name is never actually mentioned in the movie, which is very interesting. So, back to more E.T. stories here from childhood. So, with this movie, of course, I've watched this thing so many times, and of course, when I was younger, like I said, I watched it so much that that I had a copy of the VHS tape. The tape broke. Yeah, the tape started coming apart because I watched it so much. When E.T. says, basically, E.T. phone, when he says E.T. phone home for the first time, that's kind of when it starts to go bad. Unfortunately, I had to throw it away. Yeah. But still, though, which is, like I said, though, this movie it's just a perfect family movie, minus a few little choice words here and there, but, yeah, I mean, what can I say? I mean, this movie, if you have never seen E.T., it is a definite great film. Not only that, though, has one of my favorite scores, of course, by John Williams. It starts off kind of almost in a slightly horror type of music during the opening credits, and then it just lets into this really bright, theme in, with the spaceship, and you're wondering what are these little alien creatures. They're kind of weird looking, but you don't actually see what they look like. It almost starts off like a small horror film at first, but it's not. It's literally just, and then it cuts to, it introduces Elliot, and of course his family, and of course his friend, Michael's friends, who I did not know at the time when they were shooting the film. They're playing a game, and basically one of his friends says, "Oh, great, you got an arrow right in your chest. Don't worry about it, Mike. I got resurrection." They're playing Dungeons and Dragons. That is actually pretty cool. Let's just say I've never played Dungeons and Dragons, but it's kind of funny that I never knew what that game was until like almost 30 years later. So yeah. Okay, so let's open her up here and see what we got. So first of all, we have this really photoshopped cover of E.T. It's a little creepy, but of course we have the Blu-ray there, of course, with Elliot's finger and E.T.'s finger there, and then of course we have, for the DVD, we have the probably one of the most famous shots of the film, with Elliot and E.T. riding Elliot's bike going over the moon, and it's such a great film. One of the best scores of all time. And so we will go over the bonus features here. So here we have some deleted scenes. We have Spielberg and E.T., the E.T. journals, a look back, the evolution and creation of E.T., the E.T. reunion, the music of E.T., a discussion with John Williams, the 20th anniversary premiere, designs, photographs, and marketing, and of course the theatrical trailer. Now the 20th anniversary premiere, that's a very interesting one, is that basically they don't show the whole movie, they just show certain snippets of the film, but as the film was being played, Spielberg had this idea, well, why don't we actually get the orchestra to play the music live like they used to do way back, in the early 30s. And so John Williams was up to the task, and lo and behold, it just adds so much more impact when you hear all of his classic movie score, hearing it live, and it just adds so much more emotion to especially there's, I don't know what it is. There's just something about hearing John Williams music with this particular, score that just, it hits your core. I don't know why it is. There's just certain scenes in there where it almost makes you choke up. It definitely does with me right towards the end. And, but yeah, and then of course, but what's great about it is so that as they finish it up, they actually have some live, end credits where they actually show some of the actors who were who haven't, a lot of them who haven't been really seen except for, Drew Barrymore, who wanted to have a great career after this, of course. Then, it's basically been 20 years since they were in this film, and so it was kind of interesting to see Henry Thomas basically go from being this little boy here to being a grown-up man. The last time I'd seen him in anything at that time was he was in Martin Scorsese's Gangs of New York, which was being released right around that time as well. And I'm like, there's no way that's him, and it was. And of course we have, Dee Wallace shows up, and of course then we have Peter Coyote showing up as Keys, Melissa Matheson, of course. Then we have, Spielberg, does his thing and whatnot. But also one thing that he does mention, though, if it wasn't for Carlo Rambaldi, who actually was the model maker for the character of E.T., as well as Stuart Freeborn. If you don't know who Stuart Freeborn is, he actually co-created the character of Yoda when it comes to the makeup and the puppet and whatnot. But what can we say, though? I mean, this movie is so good. It's an instant classic. Especially one of the best scores ever. And what can we say? Definitely, it's kind of starting to show its age now. Just a little bit, because there's a lot of, especially with the during the bike chase. Now, with this Blu-ray, it does not feature the 20th anniversary edition itself. It's literally the 1982 theatrical release. Now, the only difference really between this and the 20th anniversary edition is that there are a few changes that were made. Basically, Spielberg had the idea of, kind of got the idea basically from George Lucas. Well, why don't we kind of, take out a few things? Let's change it up a little bit. For example, during the bike chase, you see that the FBI is going after them and they have their guns. Well, they changed that to walkie-talkies. Yeah. And also, let's see, what else? Oh, they changed E.T. into a digital creature and showed him run and all this other stuff, and it looks a little weird and wonky, but hey, that's what they decided to do 20 years ago. Thankfully, Spielberg's like, yeah, that was just an experiment. We're going to stick with the original. And so if you want both versions of that film, you need to hunt down the 20th anniversary edition, which is actually can be a little hard to find because it's not in a normal DVD case, and it looks like the spine basically looks like it's like a open book type of thing. But the reason you can tell that it is the 20th anniversary edition is because the first disc literally is in the shape of the moon. That's basically how it is. It's and what can we say, though? Still, this movie is great. Still, I think there's a 4K on the way, but this cover art is awesome. The other cover art is kind of wonky, and it looks a little weird and creepy. I think they actually used, I think they actually used this picture here for the cover, and I'm like, ugh, that's just kind of weird. But, what can I say, though? It's E.T. Like I said, this came out right after Raiders of the Lost Ark. So it came out in 1982. Of course, came out in the same year of, loads of great genre films, including, Blade Runner, all those great movies from 82 and whatnot, but what can we say, though? This was I think that was the highest grossing movie of 1982. Sadly, it did not win Best Picture. It should have. But, you know, what are you going to do? Okay, you guys. So with that, I will leave a link down the description below. For this, for those of you who have never seen E.T., it is a very highly recommended film, especially if you're wanting to enjoy a fun family film. But not only that, though, just one of the best films ever made, period. I mean, not just, you know, from a directing point of view, but it's also one of the best stories that's ever been, you know, written for the screen. And also one of the best film scores of all time. I mean, if it wasn't for John Williams, you know, composing the score for this, I don't know if it would have done very well. But half of this reason why this movie, in my opinion, does so well is because of John's, you know, themes, and especially when he hits the E.T. theme at certain points, and, you know, especially during that whole 15-minute bike chase that happens, you know, for the end of the climax of the film. Yeah. So with that, you guys, don't forget to like, subscribe, hit that notification button. And with that, I'll see you next time.